How are you?
Well, how are you?
Yeah, good.
Who knew?
I know. It's the whole club room there.
Who knew?
Mate.
Ronnie.
So, welcome to another edition of Australian Car Collector. We're in the Samford Valley in southeast Queensland. We've just had 100 mil of rain dumped upon us yesterday, and look at it today. Just extraordinary. Here we are at the Riley Car Club of Queensland. Look, what can I say about this? You often get small groups of people who get together and they've got a common interest in something or other. This club has opened up their doors not just to the Riley motor cars of this world, but to everybody. And they've really got an amazing eclectic mix of cars that have come along here today. So a little bit of background on Riley themselves. Riley started making basically bicycles back in the 1890s and went through a sort of an evolution where the motor car started becoming more and more prevalent. Riley caught on to that up until the point where they got swallowed up. And I think it was around about 1968 by British Leyland. And exactly 1 year later, they got closed down by the same company. So the people who collect these cars are real enthusiasts. They're the people who said, look, there's something very, very special about these cars. Let's make it part of our lives. So the people you're about to meet today are a real eclectic mix of characters. The cars themselves are in extraordinarily good condition. The people are wonderful. The day is fantastic. Let's go and meet some of them. Folks, if you've got a classic car, one thing you really want is a hoist. I wish I had one of these. I'm standing in the clubhouse at the Riley Car Club in Queensland. And I'm with Chris, who's the president of the club, Chris? President of the club.
This year.
This year. So Chris is one of the hard-working volunteers behind the club. And what an amazing little space this is. It's just fantastic. Chris, how did this clubhouse come about?
Well, we were originally able to secure a temporary clubhouse from the council, and then the council wanted us to move from that, and we persuaded them through one of their councillors to make a bit of land available. We were able to get a interest-free loan. We were able to get another loan. We raised money amongst our club members, and we had some money in the club, and we were able to build the club.
Fantastic.
And it's a fantastic place because we've got spare parts here, we've got tools here which people can use, and we've got a small club room which we can use for morning teas and so on. So we meet here regularly.
That's wonderful, mate. How many club members have you got now?
There's about 75 or so club members, and they're not all owners of the Riley cars, because we do encourage people to come with other cars as well.
Sure.
And we'll look at other cars. We'll put the other cars up on the hoist and tinker with those as well.
Great stuff.
So, you know, it's a club for getting to know people
Yep.
and spending time with people.
That's wonderful, mate. And how long has the club been in existence all up now?
I believe it started in the 1970s.
Wow.
There was an earlier club before that, but the 1970s was the current one.
So that's a long time for a car club to be in existence, mate. That's very healthy. That's great stuff, mate.
Yeah.
Well done. Good.
They were well-loved cars.
Right.
And when you go on the internet, you see quite a lot about Riley cars, even though today people really don't recognise the name.
Sure.
And that's because they were well-loved cars. Probably in the 1930s, they were the Jaguars of the time.
Right.
And then they continued being desirable cars into the 1950s, and then they were absorbed into BMC.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a lot of bad engineering. People still love those cars, but it was bad engineering.
Yeah, and I know British Leyland got their clinchers into it at one stage too.
Oh, yes.
That was the end of that.
BMC, British Leyland, yes.
Yeah. So what is it about the marque that holds your fascination now?
Well, the engines in the original Rileys were quite innovative.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why they were so successful in the 1930s.
Right.
In that they are cross-flow heads,
Mm-hmm.
Hemispherical combustion chambers, all those things that Chrysler used to advertise
Right.
in the 70s, 80s. And so they were doing that in the 1930s.
That's pretty cool.
And so they were innovative in that regard. They the chassis are really solid and well designed. People still use the chassis sometimes to build up a racer.
Okay.
Because they're so good.
Right.
The ones after the war had innovative steering. They had independent suspension at the front. So yeah, they were advanced engineering of their time.
Sure.
And that retains my interest, I guess.
That's great stuff. So tell me about your history with cars, Chris. When was the first Matchbox car for you?
Well, I guess when I went to university in England, I needed a car, or I decided I needed a car, and I had an A30 car,
In Austin,
Austin A30, and took the engine in and out a few times and fixed things up, changed the gearbox and rear axle and modified the interior, all those sorts of things you do when you're little or younger. And then when I was at uni, somebody had a Riley, and they came and saw me and said, well, this guy down the road's got a Riley. He wants to know if you're interested. And I said, oh, I don't think so. You know, they're big and so on. And I went down and saw it. And it was a 1937 Riley.
Right.
And I ended up buying that. And I drove it all the way around Europe to Istanbul and back.
Wow.
And I guess that started an interest both in the marque and in old cars in general.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And here we are now, 2024 in Samford.
Yes.
In a little patch of paradise in southeast Queensland,
Yeah,
and
that's
it's
right.
still as strong as ever.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, mate, thank you for showing us around today. I think it's just amazing what you guys have managed to achieve here, and well done to Moreton City Council for coming on board as well.
Yeah, and we can
Great
keep
stuff.
these cars on the road for a long, long while.
For sure. We'll look forward to seeing them. Thanks, mate.
Thank you.
It's great. So we do a lot of interviews with folks with guys, basically. I was going to say middle-aged white guys who get these old cars and they grow old with the car. Very rarely do we get to interview such an amazing lady with the most amazing car to go with her. This is a TC21, is that right?
But it's got an extra 100.
We'll get to that as well. Right. Folks, this is Ronnie. Tell me the story about this beautiful car, Ronnie.
Right. This beautiful car was a wreck in a friend's garage.
Right.
I bought it for my husband's 70th birthday.
What a present.
And absolutely. It was literally falling apart. And it took him 4 years to take everything off it and replace it as you see it now.
Wow.
He even made this from Jamaican mahogany because we used to live in Jamaica and he brought something with him. So
That's
he
incredible.
didn't like the fact that the other one was laminated.
Right.
So
That's solid timber.
That's solid timber, yes. So it's a car that has become a member of the family. We call her the Grey Lady, and it matches me. And it has been renovated now for 2009. So that's quite a lot of years.
It is.
I'm a member of the Vintage Car Club, and I've just recently joined the Riley Club where we are today. The Vintage Car Club, when John died, were absolutely marvellous. Brian, who's the secretary of this club and also with the Vintage Car Club, encouraged me to drive it, came with me on rallies, and we've been down to Traralgon, I think it's called, near Melbourne.
Oh, fantastic.
And since then, I've driven her to Hahndorf in South Australia.
Wow.
And Hamilton in Victoria.
And she's reliable?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, brilliant. But then I have a friend with the identical car in Sydney who looks after it for me.
Right.
So I'm not terribly mechanically minded, but I'm learning.
That's fantastic.
Yes, it is.
And had you been around cars before you met your husband? Were cars a big part of your life?
Cars were my life, yes.
Really?
My boyfriends at university all had beautiful cars.
Okay.
John hadn't, but he was a lovely man.
Right.
And gradually we've been all over the world. He worked for the UN, so we couldn't really keep cars.
Okay.
So as soon as we retired, I thought this will give him. My son said to me, Mum, keep Dad's hands busy because he'll be miserable to live with if you don't.
For sure.
So for 4 years of his life, he was up at 6 a.m, just going down to the garage there. We'll have breakfast together when you get up.
I love it.
Yeah, it's a fantastic car, very reliable, and everything on it seems to work as it did. The only difference is we put radial tyres on the back, cross plies on the front, because of the steering.
So it's a bit heavy?
Oh, is it ever?
Right.
But I won't put car steering on it because John wanted everything as it was when the car was right.
That saves you going to the gym and pumping iron. You just turn the steering wheel instead.
Yeah, that's right, yes.
I think it's wonderful. And the fact that a lady with a history of cars was the one who actually got a husband into it in the first place is just beautiful. Ronnie, thank you for talking to us about it. I think it's just absolutely stunning. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Those of you who are fans of the Holden motor car, or GMH, will often know a lot about Holdens and all the ones that went through the 60s, the 70s, the 80s and such. Not many people come across one of these. This is Michael, and this is his 1932. What body are we calling this, Michael?
It's called a Moonlight Speedster.
The Moonlight Speedster. Now, we did a little bit of a feature on this in one of our shows a little while ago, and the amount of comments that we got personally from people on that show was amazing, mate.
Yep.
Tell me about this beautiful car. This is incredible.
So this is a body style that was only built in Australia on Chevrolets in 31 and 32.
Right.
The same body was on the Vauxhall. It was called the Vauxhall Hurlingham. And this design is actually a registered design, a Hurlingham design. There's a patent number for it. And they just used that design on the Chev chassis.
Yeah, okay. And you were saying to me before, this is mostly built out of aluminium, hand-formed aluminium.
From the cowl band,
right,
is aluminium on the body only. The bonnet and the mudguards, balances and aprons, they're all standard pressings for a Holden body.
Okay, and would that have been through trying to save weight, or was that because that was a material available at the time?
Well, the Vauxhall Hurlingham was in aluminium as well.
Right.
And obviously that's how they built them. And there was no press to make that body. It's made up of 17 pieces.
Wow.
Supposedly they were welded together by a lady who worked for General Motors, and she was the one who had the best, steadiest hands for welding.
That is fantastic.
These aluminium bodies were fairly early in their,
infancy.
Inception,
yeah, sure. And How long have you had the car now, Mark?
I've had it a bit over 10 years.
Right. And was it in that condition when you came across it?
It was in fairly good condition. It was restored in the 70s, well restored when it was done.
Right.
And it was painted a bright red. It was painted a Ford GT Falcon red. I think it might have even been candy apple red.
Okay.
The complete body. This is the actual original colour from new.
Right.
The bodies were either glamour red or black. So this is the glamour red colour scheme, which is a slightly lighter body, which you probably can't see in this light, and the guards are a little bit darker.
And what's it powered by, mate?
Just a straight stick standard Chev, 194.6 cubic inch. First year with synchromesh transmission.
Wow.
First year with a downdraft carby, and one of only 2 years when they had a freewheeling on the gearbox.
Yeah, okay. And Michael, in previous car shows that I've seen this car, there's been a bear sitting in the dicky seat, right?
Yeah.
What's the go with the bear?
My wife bought that in a op shop. We were going to RACQ Motorfest, and it was the Careflight Bear. So
Gotcha.
it was tied in with RACQ. And,
That's very cute, right?
he's not there today. Maybe he's inside.
He's a bit windswept. There's too much rain yesterday. Didn't want to come out and play. And, mate, you've got a few other cars here today as well.
Yeah, I have got a couple.
So tell me about them.
So this one's a 1938 Chevrolet Coupe Utility is what they call them.
Right.
So that's a Holden body. They were only built in Australia, only for the Australian market again.
Right.
Stock standard American running gear, obviously right-hand drive.
Yep.
That's a 216. This one here, that's a 1933 American body pickup. They didn't sell that body style here.
Right.
So it's 207 cubic inch.
Wow.
And then the 51, that car was sold new in Mackay in 1951. So it's got the original motor, it's got the original Q plate on it from new. Never been deregistered.
Gee whiz.
It's not a standard colour. It's actually a Toyota colour.
Right.
The original colour was Tuscan red, which is sort of a red oxide sort of colour.
Yeah, okay. Well, mate, I think you're an absolute credit to the Chevrolet badge, mate. I think the fact that you brought them along today.
And there's a blue 1932 over there.
Oh, we'll get some photos of that too, mate. It's wonderful. Well, look, thank you so much for telling us about the Moonlight. Right. It's a beautiful car, and I think the fact that you've brought them all today is just it goes above and beyond the call of duty. So well done, mate. Thank you so much.
No trouble.
Folks, we love doing stories about classic cars. Obviously, that's what we're all about. But we're also really about the people behind the car. And when it's a whole family who shares that passion, look, it really gets us going. We love it. So we're here with Vicky and Mitchell. And in the back there is Adrian. He is the mastermind behind all of this. Vicky, tell me about your family's history with cars, mate. Where did it all start?
It started before I was born.
Right.
And, Dad got his Zephyr, first Zephyr, and he started working on Zephyrs, and he got a Mark 1, Mark 2, Mark 3.
He's been through the whole gambit.
Yeah. And he wanted to be a mechanic, but his mum didn't want to wash greasy overalls, so he joined the bank and became an accountant and worked on the cars as a hobby.
That's great.
So since I was born, I've spent my life on chassis and old bodies and going to people's farms and watching Dad pull them out of creeks and like rusty relics, and then he takes them home and he gets them all into this sort of condition, molasses dip, and gets rid of the rust, and
He's old school.
He is.
That's brilliant.
Yes, and he's very clever.
Yeah.
He makes his own parts if he has to, if he can't buy them.
Okay.
He did that on the hot rod. He had to make something near the wheel there and my brother said how ugly it looked, but it does the job.
And it's still there and it's working.
That's it. He couldn't buy one, so he made it.
So has the passion rubbed off onto you as well?
Yes. I've always been into cars. I get to go on trips. When I was 10, we went to Sydney from Toowoomba in a 27 Buick Tourer. And then in 88, we went to Canberra in a 24 Buick Roadster Master, and my brother and I sat in the dicky seat the whole way. And we went around WA and Australia in a 65 Riviera Grand Sport, which we still have at home. And that's left-hand drive, and he was 4 when we did that.
So this has been firmly entrenched in you too, Mitchell.
Yes.
So tell me about your love of cars, mate. This is
Well,
you're not the average kid who just plays with Matchbox cars. You get to play
I
with
do
the big
that as
things.
well.
Okay, all right, cool.
Well, I've loved cars ever since I was born. My first ride was in the hot rod in the back to my uncle's house.
In his bassinet.
And I used to go out the back to the shed with my grandpa, work on the cars all the time, help him solve most things. He's like, oh yeah, that's right. Anyway, I've had a love for cars always, just looking at them, knowing what that is, and I'm getting to know more cars, like Australian cars and everything.
And what are you doing next year?
Oh, I'm doing automotive next year.
At high school?
Yeah.
Yeah, he spends one day away from high school in a Mitchelton Trade Centre to do and it's for 12 months. And then he might look at electrician and combine it. So one day when all these electric cars are around, Mitch will be able to work on all the good old classics.
Yeah.
So
and he'll actually know
watch this space.
You'll know what a carburetor is when nobody else has a clue. That's brilliant.
He was just pulling out condensers in a carburetor just then to help Cole. The distributor.
Yeah, good.
And
nicely picked.
Yes, good save. And helped him just make that go again because it was running really rough when we got here.
That's brilliant. Lovely.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, look, folks, obviously your passion there for the cars is mirrored by the passion you have for each other. And I think it's a wonderful thing. And the fact that it's been passed down through generations is brilliant. Thank you.
And my mum was too, but she's not here anymore. But yeah, but she was riding with the cars.
Here she is too.
Exactly.
Great stuff. Well, look, thanks for bringing the two Buicks along today. Beautiful cars. We're going to have a look over to them as well.
Okay.
And thanks for chatting to us.
That's lovely. All right. Thank you.
Good on you, Mitchell. Cheers, mate. Shows that we go to, folks, are these huge, big, glamorous things, and they put tens and tens of thousands of dollars into the organisation and the venue and the marketing and all the rest of it that goes with it. It's just so lovely to see that, but it's also really, really nice to come to small events like this where you get 30 or 40 cars, really passionate people, some of the public coming through, but really importantly, the owners of these cars, because there's such a good mix, just being able to chat about the different idiosyncrasies of their car, what they've done to fix it, who's had what in the past, and just a really nice camaraderie. So look, we'd really love to thank the Riley Motor Club of Queensland for inviting us along here today. Just a really nice bunch of people. So look, if you've got a British car, if you've got any sort of car at all, make sure you check out the Riley Club. Go to their socials. They're here in Samford. It's just a really nice little spot, and we've had a ball today. So look, Thanks for joining us on this episode of Australian Car Collector, and we'll see you on the road.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Oh, and don't forget to like and subscribe. So, if you've got a car, if your friend, family member, whoever it is, has got a car that you'd love to see featured on the show, then right down the bottom of the screen here is where you're going to find a link to it.